You know, when most developers hear the word marketing, they almost immediately recoil. They think of superficial brand vibes, endless hustle, or just mind-numbingly boring slide decks. But today, we're going to look at a completely different approach. In this explainer, we're diving straight into the internal documentation of a senior solutions architect and AI specialist named Anthony Coffey. And what's so fascinating here is that he treats marketing not as some mystical, creative dark art, but as a rigorous, data-driven engineering system.
We've got a really clear blueprint today for how he systematically generates high-value client inquiries. We're going to cover the anti-pitch positioning, engineering the SEO pipeline, blog performance telemetry, capturing high-intent inquiries, and finally, a phased implementation roadmap.
All right, let's jump right into part one, the anti-pitch positioning. To really understand how to build this machine, we first have to grasp its underlying physical laws. And that starts with a very counterintuitive posture for an independent consultant. It's rooted in this brilliant philosophy from Blair Enns: present, do not pursue. If you're a senior developer looking for high-value contract work, the rule here is absolutely strict. You write the technical article, you present the work, and then the article ends. You don't push. You literally do not beg for a meeting. There's no generic, hey, need help with this? Let's chat, tacked onto the bottom. You just display undeniable competence and let the reader come to you.
Think about the target clients for a second. CTOs, VPs of engineering. They've been burned so many times by traditional agencies. They expect massive overhead, fancy slide decks, and that classic bait and switch where a slick senior partner sells the project, but a junior developer is actually the one writing the code. The anti-pitch positioning directly counters all of that frustration. The promise is simply, you get 12 years of senior engineering experience applying hands directly to the keyboard. You get working code. You get shipped systems, zero slide decks. The work itself does all the heavy lifting. It's the only pitch you need.
Okay, so step 2, engineering the SEO pipeline. Because once your positioning is locked in, you need to install the sensors to see what's actually happening out there in the wild.
You can't optimize what you can't measure, right? And the standard Google Analytics dashboard approach just wasn't going to cut it here. Instead, we have this beautifully precise, automated data pipeline. Custom scripts pull multi-engine analytics straight from the Google Search Console, GA4, and Bing APIs. They compile all of that into a single, dated JSON file, usually just a tiny 80 to 120 kilobyte snapshot. Then, another script automatically compares the current snapshot against previous ones, outputting a markdown summary specifically formatted so that AI tools can easily read and analyze the historical performance. It's just an incredibly elegant, AI-ready diffing system.
Now, you might be wondering, why would an engineer go through the trouble of building this custom pipeline in the first place? Well, the answer comes down to one very specific number: 16. Google Search Console data simply vanishes after exactly 16 months. Poof, it's gone. If you don't actively save it, that historical data is permanently lost. So that specific engineering constraint makes committing these JSON snapshots to Git absolutely mandatory if you want your historical data to stay diffable forever.
Which brings us nicely to part 3, blog performance telemetry. Let's actually look under the hood at the raw material inside this machine.
When we look at what the snapshot telemetry is telling us, it is wild. Look at the massive contrast between raw potential and actual focused intent. On one hand, you have an Expo location article that pulled in over 150,000 impressions, but its click-through rate is a tiny 0.26%. But then, compare that to an article about vibe coding. It only has 9,000 impressions, a fraction of the first one, but it's converting at 2.74%. That is roughly 5 times the rate. What this telemetry proves is that raw ranking isn't the dominant factor for getting traffic here. Query intent is. The high-intent, branded-feeling phrasing of vibe coding attracts highly targeted readers. The massive vanity metrics of the other post, just noise. The takeaway is clear. Stop chasing vanity metrics and start chasing high-intent queries that solve immediate problems.
And the data gets even more revealing. It uncovers this extreme pillar concentration within the site's content. A staggering 77% of all organic clicks belong exclusively to the mobile development content cluster. Other pillars, like general software engineering, are generating literally zero traffic because those broader search results are just too saturated. This hard data isn't just trivia. It directly dictates exactly where the marketing energy has to flow next.
So, part 4. Capturing high-intent inquiries. We have the telemetry data, we have the targeted traffic, and we know exactly what people want to read.
But
we still have to convert those readers into actual project leads. And this brings up a really fascinating paradox. Think about it. If your primary positioning rule is present, do not pursue, how on earth do you extract inquiries from high-ranking technical articles? You obviously can't just slap a desperate hire me button at the end of a deeply technical 2,000-word tutorial. It completely ruins the trust you just built.
So, the solution here is what we call generous CTAs. Instead of asking for vague, committal consulting calls, you tie the call to action to a specific, tangible project outcome. You completely bypass the dreaded sales pitch. So instead of book a strategy session, the system offers a 5-point tech scalability check, or maybe an AI opportunity quick scan. You're framing the entire interaction around the actual work. By offering a generous gift of expertise that solves an immediate problem, you naturally filter for clients who have a real, urgent system they need built or audited right now.
And finally, Part 5, the phased implementation roadmap. We have the engineered components, the data pipeline, the telemetry, and those generous CTAs. Now, we map all of that to a highly structured rollout. Phase 0 is purely foundational, getting that unique value proposition clearly defined. But Phase 1 is where the magic happens. This is where we map that blog data directly to action. We take that massive 77% mobile traffic strength we discovered earlier and use it to ignite the narrative and launch highly targeted LinkedIn ads. By Phase 2, we are confidently scaling content and deploying those generous lead magnets, completely guided by what the JSON telemetry says is actually resonating. And then Phase 3 is all about sustaining that momentum and building out strategic partnerships.
When you zoom out, every single piece of this, the technical constraints, the custom JSON pipeline, the generous CTAs, it all serves one single overarching narrative goal: dependable transformation. The marketing system itself is the proof. It shows clients that bringing on a senior engineer guarantees project certainty because the marketing is engineered with the exact same rigor as the software you're hiring them to build.
Looking at marketing through this strict engineering lens is just fascinating, isn't it? And I think it forces a really tough question for all of us. What bottlenecks are your own unmeasured systems hiding right now? If you installed this kind of precise telemetry today, would it show that you're just shouting into the void? Or are you actually capturing real intent? It's time to look closely at your data, build the right sensors, and ultimately, let the code do the pitching.